Hello, hello. Dallisa Hocking here, fifth generation psychic medium with my buddy Scott Tejerian. He is an astrologer and author. And today we are going to be doing our post-election debrief for the United States election, November 2024. We're going to be taking a look at the astrological transits that are happening now and incoming for the rest of 24 and what we're seeing in 25 that we think is going to impact what's happening in the country now, because what happens in the United States really does have a ripple effect in other parts of the world. The intention for today's video is to give you practical ways to work with the energy, regardless if you are, aligned with the party that won, not aligned, or maybe you didn't vote at all. But how do we work with this energy now that we are in the midst of everything that's unfolding? So, Scott, thanks for being with me.
You're welcome, Dallisa. And I keep forgetting to to tell you this, but my last name is pronounced Tejerian.
All of this
It's
time and you never told me.
I always well because I always forget, like, you'd say it and then I'm like, oh, I got to remind her next time, and then so I'm like, oh, finally I'm gonna do it right now. I don't care that we're recording, but yeah, I'm Armenian, so it's like my last name is very phonetic. It's like the Armenian language, like, it doesn't use the English alphabet, so like the way things are spelled in English is very phonetic to English. So it's a hard J. Yeah, Tejerian.
Okay.
Yes.
Tejerian. Okay. I'm
Yes,
gonna lock
Tejerian.
that in my
Yeah.
brain. So
No, it's hilarious. Like in my high school graduation, I went to a high school that was like 70% Mexican or Latino. And my mom taught at the high school. And in the graduation ceremony, one of the counselors who read my name, who worked with my mom, pronounced my name Teherian. And I was like, wow, okay. Because, as I'm around all these Latin people. So, it's often pronounced that way. People will do that, but it's Tejerian. So,
okay, good to know. And if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you have a similar story where people butcher your name all the time. Drop it in the comments and let us know. I go through it all the time because my name is just so different. So I get
yes,
I get called like everything, and I'm usually just like, if it sounds like anything like Delisa, I just sure.
totally.
So I appreciate the effort. So yeah, no, good to
Yes,
know. I learn something new every day. Um,
yes.
so yeah, and you may see as we start showing some of the astrological charts, you may start seeing that there's more people here in the video recording. So what that is a live Zoom audience that we have as we're recording this episode today. And they're here, they're asking questions, and it's just a way for us to connect with more people and have a live interaction touch point. And so if you're ever interested in being a part of what we're doing, you can always add yourself to my invite list, and you can find that at spiritandspark.com. And Scott is the host of the Weekly Transit, and you can find his website at theweeklytransit.com. So
Mm.
I think we dive right into this.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
when I was sitting with the energy of this, the question that I was getting as somebody who sees, hears, feels information was the question, now what? And so
Mm.
this is going to be a conversation today that hopefully gives us ways to move through the energy, dance through the energy, surf through the energy,
Mm.
and really feel and know within ourselves that truly everything is going to be okay.
Mhm.
So we're going to weave through that conversation, and I've got some questions that you can consider asking yourself for deeper reflection. So we're going to be getting into that. Um, so Scott, just out of the gate, knowing what we know now on
Mhm.
November 6th, how are you feeling about the energy that's emerging the day after the US election?
Hmm. Well, I love the metaphor of surfing, because I always say ride the planetary waves rather than the planetary waves riding you. And so, the frequencies right now, the energy right now is heart-centered. It's honesty, it's truth. Mercury's transiting through Sagittarius. That's the planet of consciousness, communication, and it's in Sagittarius, which is mutable fire. It's extroverted, it's adaptive, it's ruled by Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice. So, and Mercury is moves into its retrograde shadow today, and it begins its retrograde shadow on November 25th. So, Mercury is spending this extended period of time in Sagittarius from now until early January. For the next 2 months, Mercury is transiting through Sagittarius. So, the truth is going to be coming out. And so, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for you to express your truth, to share your ideas, to share your philosophical view? What are you seeing in the world? And then Mars is transiting through Leo. Leo's the fixed fire sign symbolized by the lion. Mars is the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, conflict, courage, authenticity. Mars, interestingly enough, is going to be transiting through Leo the same period of time that Mercury is going to be transiting through Sagittarius for the next 2 months. But Mars is only going to be transiting through the first 6 degrees of Leo. It begins its retrograde transit in early December and transits out of Leo back to Cancer by early January. So, this is encouraging us to open our hearts, to be bold in our actions. So, speaking your truth and being bold in your actions, in your self-expression, and being bold. Think about, like, what do I love? What do I enjoy? What is fun for me? That's what we're meant to be doing right now. Is we're meant to be acting out of love, out of joy. If the lower frequency of Leo is being the tyrant, being somebody who is maybe the black hole, who's sucking the energy out of the room rather than invigorating the room. So, how are you bringing energy to the room? Are you invigorating those that you're around, or are you sucking the energy out of the room? We want to be invigorating, we want to be encouraging, and we want to be spreading the love rather than the bitterness or the anger, or you don't want to be that desperate lion that's lost the pride and is trolling around emaciated through the Sahara, just desperately looking for food. That's not what we want to be. We want to be the bold, proud lion that has the pride, and that people are attracted to because they can really see your heart. They can see your love. They can see your joy. They feel it. It's more than seeing it. They feel it. They feel the energy of you.
I love what you just shared because it reminds me of what I was seeing this morning as I looked at social media,
Mm,
and how every energy or every planet in a sign has a high frequency and a low frequency. There are no bad signs. There's a range of how it can play out.
exactly.
And unfortunately, from what I was seeing online this morning, and as I've been predicting, and you've even said it yourself, I believe, on our 2025 video that we did recently, that regardless of who the winner or loser was, that it was going to create a crater, a deeper divide between people, those that allow it to happen.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
but it was mind blowing how much mud was being thrown back and forth, whether it's the gloating or
Mm-mm.
the ego, coming up, or the name calling. I've never seen it that bad, and my hunch is that there will be more unfriending today and the days, weeks, months to come that we've ever seen. And think it lends to what I've been predicting in the energy about it continuing to look like people are pulling apart. And I know there's something going on with the astrology, Scott, where, and I'd love for you to speak to it, where I think you said it was Neptune and Aries when we talked about it,
Mm-mm.
where everything is going to bubble up to the surface because
Mm-hmm.
Neptune has been in Pisces, which I'd love for you to speak about maybe the unclear or delusional aspects of that. And
Mm-hmm.
then what happens when Neptune goes into Aries?
Yes, yes. So just before I do that, I just want to touch on something you said. Like when I hear about people gloating or name calling on social media, that's a low frequency of Sagittarius and Leo. If you're gloating because you're excited that your side won, that is not being the benevolent king. That's being the tyrant. Same frequency if you're on the other side and you're unhappy of the results and you're name calling the side that won, then you're also in that low frequency of being the tyrant or being somebody who is a know-it-all. That's the low frequency of Sagittarius, is the know-it-all, that I know that my side is the right side and that's why we won, or that's why your side is bad, or whatever that frequency is. It's not based in love. It's based in fear. And so when we're looking at the Neptune transit, Neptune has been transiting through Pisces since 2011, 2012, and during that period, we're being called to awaken to what is going on beneath the surface of ourselves, our psyche, our unconscious. The unconscious is where we keep all of our psychological baggage that we don't want to deal with, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. And so joining Neptune in Pisces over the last year plus, has been Saturn in Pisces. Saturn has also transited into Pisces, and it's been here for over a year in Pisces. That is really kind of solidifying. Saturn is the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, authority. We're being called to take responsibility for what's going on beneath the surface of our mind, our psyche, our unconscious. Neptune in Pisces is just sort of, it's thinning the veil where there is less of a divide between the material and the ethereal. Over these last, what has it been, 12 years, you've seen the rise in the opioid epidemic, the legalization of cannabis, the fact that like you can gamble legally, and you can like they advertise gambling on the radio and on TV, and alcohol, hard alcohol on TV. These things didn't occur before Neptune was in Pisces. When you think of all the superhero movies and Star Wars movies that have come out in the last 12 years, there's more that have come out in the last 12 years than there had been in the previous 40, 50 years, or since the beginning of film. Why is that? The reason is because people are looking for a way to escape, because there's something going on in their unconscious that they're like, oh God, I don't want to deal with that. You think of the word woke. Why is this a word now? Woke has become a word in a way that it wasn't a word before. And the reason is because Neptune and Pisces. Triggered, that's another word that has become a word that it wasn't used in the manner that it was before, is because of Neptune and Pisces, is because these are words that are meant to awaken us to our unconscious, where we are feeling what other people are feeling. We're more attuned to the pain and suffering of others, and it's waking us up to our own pain and suffering that we're trying to ignore. And because of that, we want to push it away. And so we move into drugs and alcohol, video games, superhero movies, pornography, whatever, sports and gambling, whatever your vice is to escape and draw into fantasy. That is what we're doing to ignore ourselves. And what the planets are saying as Neptune moves into Aries and is going to be followed by Saturn moving into Aries, and they're going to form a conjunction at the first couple of degrees of Aries. When that happens, all of your psychological baggage that you haven't dealt with is going to be pushed into the middle of the road of your street and lit on fire. And so it's very important for you to really acknowledge your guilt, your shame, your regret, your blame. When you feel triggered by someone else and it frustrates you, it annoys you, it brings up bitterness, you need to look within yourself and say, where is this going on within myself? You know,
I love, yeah.
if you hate Donald Trump, if you hate Kamala Harris, if you hate Joe Biden, you hate yourself, because there's something about them that is reflecting within you that you need to look at, and you need to show yourself compassion, and you need to show them empathy so that you can integrate these thought patterns and memories that you're experiencing deep within the surface of yourself, beneath the surface of yourself, with understanding, forgiveness, and love for yourself. So love Donald Trump, love Kamala Harris, love Joe Biden. And when you're able to do that, then you're right with yourself. You're right with yourself. And if there's something that they're doing that you don't like, then it's showing you something within yourself that you need to forgive yourself for.
I love what you're saying because I can visualize it. I can see it. There's even a comment from our live Zoom audience. I love the visual of the middle of the street with my unconscious baggage set on fire. And I've learned over the years, in case this is helpful for anyone listening, that I get really curious when I'm feeling like a low frequency or an emotion that's coming up inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask myself, like, really, why am I feeling this? And I've just found that when I took 100% accountability for all of my feelings, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I sat with them long enough and got curious as to why they were showing up and then worked on healing that part of me inside of me, um, it was the most liberating thing that could have come across my path. And I think that is when I hear you talk about Neptune and Pisces, and then it's going to go Neptune and Aries. I feel like it's this massive turning point inward if we are going to allow ourselves that opportunity to heal ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple questions that I was thinking of this morning that may be helpful for folks. One is considering, where does my happiness live? Is it hooked into an external factor? So things to consider would be politics, your job or your paycheck, whether or not someone loves you or loves you back. So
Mm-hmm.
where are you hooking or anchoring your happiness? Um, and then the second point of reflection as we talk about this election debrief is, what can I give to myself now that feels healthy, kind, and gentle? Which sounds like a lot what you were just saying about, if you're finding discord, anger, hatred in someone outside of yourself or something outside of yourself, then it's turning that compassion inward to heal that part of yourself, because then
Mm-hmm.
you really won't feel triggered by it anymore.
Yes, yes. I want to point out one thing you said that jumped out to me before we get to those questions. Is you said that when you feel that sort of anger, or someone upsets you, or and it draws you into that lower frequency, you get really curious about that. And astrologically speaking, I think that's a very important note right now, because the other planet that rules the sign of the unconscious, Pisces, is Jupiter. And Jupiter is transiting uh, through the sign of consciousness, which is Gemini, and the sign of curiosity, Gemini. So we are meant to be expanding our consciousness through curiosity. So that is a key ingredient. Is if somebody angers you and you go into that low frequency, what does that mean about yourself? What is it about them that you don't like or that frustrates you that maybe is being reflected within yourself?
Hmm.
So, now back to those questions. I think the first question was, where do you
Like, where are
uh
you anchoring your happiness? Because
your happy your heart,
yeah, your
it's your
heart.
heart, and it's
Hmm.
and the heart, people say all the time, and I always used to think, like, what does that mean? Follow your heart. Follow your heart. What does that mean? Follow your heart. Like, my heart is just with me. It's in my body, right? So, like, I'm going where it's going, wherever I go. But what that means, I've come to discover within myself, is it means, what makes you happy? What do you enjoy? What makes you laugh? Where, like, you can't control yourself. Like, something just happened and, like, suddenly you're laughing. And like, for me, is like you playing Surfing USA, the Beach Boys. I don't know. I just got so happy hearing that song, and just, it makes me think of my mom, makes me think of that first concert at the Fresno Fair. I'm just like, and I don't know. It's so, what is that for you? Like, what is your sense of joy, your laughter, your playfulness? That's what Mars in Leo is encouraging us to do. It's encouraging us to drive towards that joy, that
Love
laughter,
that.
that fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, all of it. So, an exercise that we could do is sit down with pen and paper at the top of the piece of paper, ask ourselves, what brings me happiness? And list
Mm,
out the things. And what I've learned in doing that is, at least for me, the things that make me happiest are usually the easiest, most simplest things. It's, having breakfast with a friend or going on a walk in nature. It's not these big grandiose things that cause all of this happiness. And I know there's been studies done over the years about, once you make a certain level of money, you don't actually get happier with the more money that you make, because happiness really isn't connected to
mm,
the dollar amount, of course, after a certain level. But I think that study really points to the happiness is really found within us and our connection to others and our kindness towards ourselves and others. So it just feels applicable, especially today in the world that we live in. We did have a question, speaking about curiosity,
mhm.
from our Zoom audience, asking about our thoughts on the United States coming into our Uranus return in Gemini next year.
Mhm.
So, what are
Mhm.
you thinking, feeling, seeing about Uranus going into Gemini?
Well, it's a revolution to our conscious. It's a revolution to how we communicate and connect with other people. There could be, I think of technology. Uranus is the planetary ruler of Aquarius. Aquarius is symbolized by the water bear. The water bear was the individual that invented the jug. So there's going to be new technology that comes into our conscious way of being. And so, yeah, that's it. And it's going to change and shift the United States. You think of the last time Uranus was in Gemini was during World War II. And the United States was definitely different post World War II than it was pre World War II. So, the United States is going to look very, very different moving forward over the next few years than how it has been in the past. And it's because of Uranus in Gemini, but also Pluto in Aquarius.
Yeah, so we've had Pluto in Capricorn, and it is going to be going into the sign of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a few sentences, how would you describe Pluto going into Aquarius? Or what's the difference between Pluto being in Capricorn or being in Aquarius? Like, what's that shift that we might be experiencing in the collective?
So both of those signs are ruled by Saturn. And the difference between the two is Saturn ruling Capricorn is the accountability or responsibility for yourself. What are the goals and ambitions that I want to achieve for me? Whereas Saturn ruling Aquarius is, what are the goals and ambitions that I want to accomplish that are going to contribute to society, to the community? So Pluto in Capricorn has been urging us to take responsibility for ourselves. How am I spending my time? What am I spending my time on? Time is a currency. It's not limitless. It's not infinite. It ends at some point. So how are you spending your time? What are you spending your time on? And what are you accomplishing with your time? Pluto moving into Aquarius is now bringing that into the community. What am I doing to contribute? What am I bringing to dinner? What am I bringing to the potluck? And what am I getting from the community in return for what I'm bringing? It's not just about me giving, it's also about me getting something in return. Like, there needs to be an equal exchange with Aquarius, because the water bear just didn't invent the jug for themselves. They invented it for the community, the village, but through that, it freed up more time for other people in the village to be more independent and focus on the gifts that they had to contribute to the village that the water bear also benefited from.
Mm. You articulate astrology in a way that really makes sense, Scott. I appreciate it. And in our
Thank
live
you.
Zoom chat, we have a lot of really beautiful comments about how we're
Mm,
stepping into our own power and feeling that empowerment within ourselves, that we're leading ourselves and we're being called to find that empowerment within our own life and our own way of being. And so keep those
mhm.
Zoom comments coming. And if you're watching on YouTube, just drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what's really resonating with you right now. Um, okay, so looking into what's coming, the degree isn't exact right now based on what we were talking about before we started recording, but Mars opposite Pluto,
Mhm.
and how there's going to be a few more waves of the opposition that's coming.
Yes, yes.
So, what is that energy of Mars opposite Pluto? Like, what can we expect with that energy? And if you have dates or time frame of when we're going to feel that pass again, it would be great to note.
Totally, totally. So the first one already happened. It happened right before the election. That was Mars at the final degree of Cancer, opposing Pluto at the final degree of Capricorn. And that was creating tension between the past and where we're headed. Where we come from and what we want to achieve and accomplish. It's about making peace with the past so that you can move forward and accomplish what you want to achieve. You can't achieve what you want to achieve if you're constantly lamenting about the past. Then you're stuck in the past and you're never going to get forward. You've got to move forward. And so this was clearing up the whatever was stagnant there for us as individuals. When you have the god of war, Mars, opposing the god of death, Pluto, there's going to be tension and a major transformation. Now, moving forward, the next two waves, and this is happening in a three-wave cycle because it's due to Mars's retrograde in Leo and then back in Cancer. So Mars is moving through Leo. It's going to begin retrograding at the end of, or the beginning of December. And then by the end of December, Pluto, which will have by then, on November 19th, it moves into Aquarius. By the end of December and leading into the early part of January, that is when they are going to oppose each other again, except this time Pluto is going to be in Aquarius and Mars is going to be in Leo. And then it happens the third time in in April. Mid to late April is when it happens the third time. And so that is creating tension between my sense of joy and fun, what I like doing, what's in my heart, and how that is conflicting with the community or the group. So the tension is between, just think of yourself within a group and it's like, I want to do this. This is what's fun for me. And the rest of the group says, no, you can't do that. And it's like, yes, I can, and so you've got all these people in the group that are wanting to do what they want to do. We're learning how to play with each other. We're like a bunch of little kids that all want to play together, but we all want to play our own games and we don't want to play the games that the other people want to play. So we're really finding out how we can play with each other. How can we make this work where I can have fun and everyone else is having fun? Yeah, we're learning how to play nice in the sandbox. Exactly. Exactly, Kathy. I love that. That's exactly it.
Wow. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
the mudslinging feels like what I would expect when I was 10 years old on the playground in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it's that level of frequency, and not in everyone. It's just and there was a comment that said energy goes where focus goes. You create what you think. And I love that,
Exactly.
because if you are focused or hooked into the mudslinging or the arguments. I mean, Christmas will probably be contentious. But if you're hooking into that energy, you are giving it fuel,
Exactly.
and you're creating more of that vibration. And so
Exactly.
wouldn't surprise me. I saw it on social media this morning from some folks about like, I'm going to step away. You won't see me for a few days online.
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be people turning off the TV more,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is really good because it's trying to get us back to our own voice. Um, yeah, we could talk about this inauguration.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you seeing anything in January that is raising a question mark or a curiosity for you? Because I've been making predictions about the election for a while now, and people that follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I've been talking about Trump winning. And I've also
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that I see Vance stepping in as the long term leader. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and when I did some exclusive content yesterday for my Instagram subscribers, where I talked about Trump, Kamala, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. And when I looked at the energy, and my tarot cards actually said Trump will win, so it was kind of fascinating to see those pulled yesterday before the election, even.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at the Democratic Party, I actually started feeling more of a group of leaders for the Democratic Party. Specifically, I was hearing Newsom and Pelosi. There's going to be several people I feel like that are going to create leadership in that party. And that Vance is really highlighted on the Republican side. So I do suspect psychically that there will be a lot of changes and upheaval with the political systems in the United States and who is leading those. I would say psychically within the next 6 months. Of course, that changes with people and decisions that they make. But right now, as it stands today, I'm feeling spring as major changes. I do think Kamala will still be involved with the Democratic Party. Um, when I look at her speech that she's supposed to give later today, I get a lot of question marks in the energy with the speech. So I think there's going to be some things
Mm-hmm.
psychically to unpack there. All of that to say, because I know some people wanted to hear like what's coming in psychically for both parties and people that are interested in that. But astrologically, when we look at inauguration for the United States in January, and maybe even anything that pops for you in spring, what are you seeing or sensing?
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me about the inauguration, I'm not making any sort of predictions at all. I really don't like doing that
Leave that
because,
to me.
yeah, I'll leave that to you. But, it's just very curious that, like, on on the at the inauguration, the the moon is going to be almost exactly where it was on July 13th, the day of Trump's assassination attempt. Which it's actually in a really auspicious position for Trump, which is why, I think that part of the reason why he survived that, let's say. But it's just interesting that the moon's going to be in Libra, which is the sign where it was on July 13th. And that's a sign that's symbolized by the scales, which represents balance, harmony, equanimity, fairness, peace. So hopefully that means it's a peaceful event. But as we said in the last video we did with each other, that is when the sun is going to be conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, the sign that is ruled by Uranus, the planet of the unexpected. Trump's Venus is going to be squaring Uranus, the planet of the unexpected. His Saturn is going to be squaring Uranus. So it feels like there could be something unexpected or something unusual that is occurring around the inauguration. Mars is also retrograde in Cancer, conjunct Trump's Saturn, which indicates restriction to action, maybe with regards to his authority. But, who knows? It's anyone's guess, but it just feels like there could be something unusual or unexpected that's happening there, but maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So
something I was getting as a download last night is I was hearing Spirit say, remember that Inauguration Day is the same day as Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
mm-hmm.
And the visual that I was getting with it was that people in some places will fixate or focus on that day as a day of protest,
Mm-hmm.
some unrest, um,
Yes.
fires, looting, things like that. So it
So
just
maybe
feels like a
that's what the
big day.
unexpected is. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what because, I think the one big prediction that I will say that I had prior to, in our last recording was that whoever loses is not going to go quietly into the night. It doesn't matter which side loses. They're not just going to say like, okay, that's just how it is. Let's go on with our daily lives. Like I feel, and like when you talk about what you talked about in terms of what's going on social media, it's just more people kicking up the dust and trying to create the conflict. And when you said that people are saying that they're going to step away from social media for a couple days, or maybe they'll stop watching TV for a while. The thought that came up for me was until when, because what's the next big event that's going to happen, that needs to happen in order to get the herd back in line? Because that's really what we all are, is we're all cattle here. And those are our cattle ranchers that are trying to keep the herd together. And that's by scaring the herd to go this way or scaring the herd to go that way. So, what is the next thing that's going to happen? Maybe it's around the inauguration. I feel like obviously, I think something could happen before then, especially with Mercury retrograde. It just brings about a lot of tension.
Mm-hmm. Something you and I were talking about beforehand that I found interesting that goes hand in hand with the social media and having some large scale thing happen that brings people back to the news and back to social media and more of the fear uh, in the collective was the death of celebrity and perhaps the collapse of some celebrities using their voice for different endorsements. And it's like, do we care? If we care, why? So why is it? Is there something astrologically that points to the death of celebrity endorsement?
That was the most interesting part about these election results for me, was the fact that people have shown that they don't really care who Taylor Swift is voting for or who LeBron James is voting for. Like, it does not matter. Like, people are going to make their own decisions. And it feels like with Pluto finishing its transit through Capricorn, it's about taking responsibility for yourself. That's sort of the final chapter there, is like, it doesn't matter who Taylor Swift or LeBron James are voting for. Who do you care about? Who are you taking responsibility for? Or even more so than who are you voting for president, or whether or not you're even voting, how are you taking responsibility for your own life? But then Pluto transiting into Aquarius could indicate maybe the death of celebrity or caring about celebrity. Like, the irony of this is that the most famous of the presidential candidates won, because Trump is one of the most famous people in the world. So, and he's the final president of that generation of Pluto and Leo. Because when I look at celebrity, for me, it really began with Pluto in Leo. Prior to Pluto and Leo, the only celebrities were really royal people, the royal family, the kings, the queens. Those were the people that everybody knew about. Then when Pluto moved into Leo in the 1950s, it was 1937 to 1957. Well, that's really when, like, the first real celebrity came about. Elvis was like the first person where people just went crazy for him. And then in the 1960s, that's when all these other celebrities, it really started to boom, because all the baby boomers who were born between 37 and 57 were adults now. And as adults, they were becoming famous. And that was really the birth of celebrity. So now what's going to happen when Pluto transits through Aquarius? That's the anti-celebrity. The Aquarius is opposite Leo. When Pluto transited through Aquarius last time, that's when kings and queens were beheaded. They were taken down. So it feels like, moving forward, people are going to say that not only do I not care who celebrities are voting for, I'm offended when they tell me who they're voting for, because I'm not going to my job and telling other people who to vote for. I'm not being boastful. I mean, even like the boastfulness of like who you're voting for. It's like, people that put signs on their front porch. It's like do I really care? I mean, like, keep it to yourself. Like, that's your business. I feel like that detachment of grandiose sort of, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. That is the frequency that we're moving into with Pluto and Aquarius, where it's like, look, everybody has their gifts. Everybody has something special about them. And if you're pumping your chest out about yourself and anything or anyone else, then, you know, I'm not into it. And you're actually going to be, you're going to end up being sort of ostracized from the group. So that's what
Hmm.
I'm feeling about that. And it also
With
makes me just think too, just one last point. It makes me feel like I wonder what's going to happen with Trump. Like, is he going to finish out his presidency, uh, or not? I don't know. Let's say that he does. If he does, then there is going to be some sort of definitive end, I feel like, to this reign of celebrity.
Yeah, and I've even felt like this was the last presidential election in the form that we currently know it for the United States of America. So I
Hmm.
just feel like there's going to be massive change to the political system. Um, Talking about communications and media and celebrities and things, with Gemini, uh, with being ruled by Mercury and being so intrinsically connected to communications, and Uranus moving into Gemini, do you think that there will be a change in the way that we receive news?
Yes, of course. I mean, you see these things that they're advertising on TV, right? Where you wear this thing on your face and you're
What
looking you
what
know
is it? Like a mask?
yeah, it's like Facebook is doing it or
Oh, like
Meta,
the VR, virtual
yes.
reality kind of stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, and you're looking at it and you can see they've got this thing on their head and you can see the screen, but you can also see the room around you. At what point does that just become like something that you implant into your brain or into your eyeball or however it's going to be implanted into you. I mean, we're entering that time of transhumanism where we are, where news might just be downloaded into you. And how do you silence it when it's literally inside your body? I mean, I could see it going that way.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, we had a very specific question about Kamala's uh, astrology. And so I'm just going to read you
Hmm.
the question and see
Yeah.
if you get anything about it. So it says the super moon at 24 degrees Taurus is precisely to the minute conjunct Harris's natal Jupiter at 24 degrees Taurus. So the question is about the tightness of the orb and the aspect being rare. So does this save her from the current turmoil on a personal level? So supermoon and Taurus conjunct natal Jupiter at the same degree. Was there anything that
Yes.
comes up for you on that?
Well, I mean, so okay, so let's take a look at that. I can actually show you here with the so yeah, here it is, 24 degrees conjunct her Jupiter. The sun at 24 degrees directly opposite her Jupiter. The full moon is a release. And the full moon in Taurus is releasing the material, releasing control, releasing the need for security. And, with that happening in Kamala's 12th house, it feels like maybe a freeing of her unconscious and her unconscious need for material security, so that she can be more vulnerable in her daily routine or her work life. I think that she's going to recover just fine from this election. I don't see this as being anything that um hinders her. I don't know if like she's somebody that's going to run again for president or what that means, but maybe she takes a more practical approach to public service through this full moon. But her North Node is in Gemini in the first house. And so to me, like, I feel like the best way for Kamala to move forward is to be a connector of ideas and communication, to be somebody who is authentic and courageous in connecting with others and really asking questions rather than giving answers. There that's the same for Trump too. I mean, I said this in like an Instagram post months ago. It's like the similarities between them astrologically is really astounding. I mean, but just one example is their north node is both of their north nodes are in Gemini. And so they're both in their highest frequency when they don't have the answer or when they don't assume that they have the answer. They need to be asking questions, gathering information, listening. They need to be listening to other people. That's when they're in their highest frequency. So, whatever Kamala can do to release control and put herself out there courageously as a conduit of information that listens to others and connects people together in a positive way. So I hope
Hmm.
that answers the question to whoever asked it.
Yeah,
Tell me if it
beautiful.
did or didn't, and if not, I can continue. So,
Yeah. Giving folks some more insight as to how to work through this this changing time that we're in, there's a couple of ideas that I was journaling about this morning in case it's helpful to anybody, especially if you're feeling like the people around you disagree with you, or if you're facing a holiday with somebody and you're like, oh, we're going to have a battle over the turkey, at the table. What I was journaling about is the reminder for us not to take it personally, because it's not personal.
Mm.
If they are hating your viewpoint or hating the candidate that you support, or they disagree with something that you believe passionately in, it's really not about you. And they were reminding me, Spirit was about the book, The Four Agreements. And I talk about that book a lot because I just think it has so much wisdom in it. But that chapter about not taking things personally, and it's not only about we can't take the negative personally, but it's also about don't take the great compliments personally either, because
Yes.
whether it's good or bad or whatever
Yes.
the energy or the projection that they're putting on you, it's what they've been through in their own life. It's their own filter that they're seeing you and the world through. And so
Mhm.
whether someone likes you or doesn't like you, it has nothing to do with you. And so
Yes.
releasing the need for approval from other people really is freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you're
So
just
yeah.
speaking you're speaking this transit that's been going on since early September and is lasting until the end of November is Jupiter in Gemini, sextile Chiron in Aries. This is like having the courage to listen to others. And if somebody's bringing something up that you are taking personally, then it's about facing those fears and insecurities within yourself. That's what it's about. If you're taking something personally, what is it are you afraid of? To listen to someone else, to receive their experience. It's recognizing that we're all here together. We're all here together, and we are reflecting each other. And so the good, the bad, the ugly that I'm experiencing with you is a reflection of myself. And so if you're saying something that I'm taking personally, then I need to look deep within myself to find that peace and self-love to move through that frequency.
Mm. In my experience of trolls on social media, because I've gotten a lot of trolls this year. Um,
You've blown up. That's
I know.
why you've blown up.
Well, thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, but I know, and I hear you talking about the death of influencers, and I'm like, well, I got my
No,
Instagram followers.
the death of celebrity.
Okay,
The
I'm not a
death of
celebrity then.
celebrity. Yes. Yes.
Um, but where I was going with that is I've had a lot of trolls this year.
Hmm.
And so I've really had to sit with it and do some inner reflection, because if I took things personally that people were saying in the comment section of my videos, I would literally drive myself crazy. And I try to really empathize or send good vibes to the people who are creating those comments or turmoil online, because it's a direct reflection of how they're feeling inside of themselves. Because kind
Yes.
people, like nice people that are really like feeling good and feel aligned with their life and making good choices for themselves and their heart, and they're following their joy and passion, they are not trolls on the internet.
Exactly. Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Beautifully said.
So yeah, as we start to close out
Mhm.
today, is there any like final words of wisdom that you want to give everybody listening right now?
I would just say open your heart, have fun, enjoy yourself, be honest, be righteous, tap into the higher frequencies of this Sagittarius and Leo energy with Mars and Leo and Mercury and Sagittarius and speak in a way that is lifting people up rather than tearing them down. Act in a way that is bringing joy instead of strife. And if you're doing that, the road is going to open up. It's going to be clear for you.
Mm. I would say in
And you'll be
closing,
riding
yeah,
those planetary waves.
yeah, to be surfing.
Surfing those
And
planetary
if
waves.
people have
Yes.
no idea what I'm talking about and what you're talking about, we played Surf in USA
Oh,
before
okay, right.
we started recording today because I started a fun ritual that before I go live with a group and start a class or start a recording, I play a song, a theme song. And so today's was Surf in USA by the Beach Boys. So that's why we
I
keep
love
talking
it.
about surfing and that song. Um, but I would say in closing, ask yourself not only what can you do to find that happiness, to find your North Star,
Mhm.
um, but as you were talking about Pluto and Aquarius, what are we also bringing to our neighbor? And as I was
Yes.
reflecting about, doesn't have to be these massive, grandiose things that make our life happier. I would consider smiling at strangers more.
Mm.
Um, and what can you do to make, eye contact or to say hello and reach out a
Mhm.
hand and um, consider those small moments because those small moments end up making a significant impact, especially if there's more and more people that are doing it.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, Scott, where can everybody find you?
Theweeklytransit.com. Yes.
Yes.
And at
And
the weekly transit on, Instagram and YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, the weeklytransit.com.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And my links and everything are at spiritandspark.com and on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Dallisa Hocking. So,
Mm.
Scott, it was another successful conversation with you today. And
Yes.
I can't wait to hear what people have to say. So, in the comments of YouTube, leave us your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you and everybody that joined us live on Zoom today. Thank you so much. Until next.